always misery, destruction. You destroy everything. Everything you hold close is nothing compared to feeling better. You know, that drug that you need. You put everything aside. You might not think it, but you're going to. And that's just the way it is.
On today's Hot Zone, we'll reveal a big step in the fight against opioids from ground zero here in the United States. That's West Virginia. Coming up on today's podcast.
This is the Hot Zone. Engaging with the news in a whole new way, international war correspondent Chuck Holton brings insight into areas of crisis and lets you help those affected.
West Virginia has really become the ground zero for the opioid epidemic in the United States, which has killed more than 700,000 people since 1999. It's killing about 70,000 people a year now, and with no end in sight. Well, the Attorney General of West Virginia is trying to take some steps to address that here in this state, and he's here at Bryan's Safe House in Beckley, West Virginia, which is a halfway house or a drug treatment center for addicts. And the Attorney General's here to make a statement about something they're doing to try to clamp down on the drug companies that are selling these opioids. Let's go listen to what he has to say.
We have to make sure that we go to the heart of this opioid epidemic, and that really means going after not only having accountability throughout the system, but when resources come back in, we have to make sure that we're helping people, we're driving at the root causes of the epidemic, and that means treatment, getting people better in their heads and their hearts. So that's why we thought it would be a great opportunity to be here with you today. As we make a major announcement, as many people have heard, today we filed a lawsuit against Purdue Pharma. They're one of the larger manufacturers of opioids. We also filed a lawsuit against Dr. Richard Sackler individually. And this is one of the most aggressive lawsuits in the country. We've been working the last 2.5 years on a very long multi-state investigation involving states from across the country. But 5 states stepped forward today because we think it's important to plant this flag and to really begin to see even more accountability within the system. Our allegations in the complaint that you'll read argue that Purdue Pharma misrepresented the nature of their product and that it's a lot more addictive than they talked about with physicians and patients and other people. And we believe they should be held accountable for their role in the opioid epidemic. Now, those here today may know that we are not new to fighting this terrible crisis. We've been doing everything imaginable. If there's an idea out there that we haven't tried, we want to know about it from anyone here, because this takes up a massive quantity of our time. When I took over in 2013, there was no substance abuse fighting unit in the office. Literally no people working full-time on this. We recently had over 10 people engaged in preparation for this case. We have over a dozen people regularly working on opioid issues in our office, and we try to be holistic in our approach. You attack the supply, you attack the demand, and you do education and prevention. There's no silver bullet to solving this problem, but you have to be methodical, and I think our office is being that way. In recent years, beyond the education work that we've done, which we think is critical, we've filed lawsuits to hold accountability within the pharmaceutical supply channel. We know that to date, we've seen realization of $84 million for pharmaceutical distributors. That not only is record-breaking for the state, but it's more than any other state in the country has been able to realize to date. We think these are significant and that they're going to stand up to the test of time. In addition, we've also tried to go after the root cause of why there's so much prescribing here in our state. And I can tell you there are a lot of reasons for that. And we're in southern West Virginia, where sometimes there's a lack of hope within the community. And that's certainly critical, that there's a disconnection with individuals who have lost their way. But there are other entities that are also responsible, and we're going to hold them accountable, whoever they may be. Our litigation has involved manufacturers, distributors, pharmacies, pain clinics, and the federal government.
So our ministry is the Bryan's Safe House and the Sparrow's Nest. Sparrow's Nest serves for the women, the Safe House serves men, but our primary function is to help young men in the state of West Virginia that are plagued by this opioid epidemic that's going around. A lot of men are losing their lives, and a lot of women are slaves to men and addiction at the same time. And we are here to try to improve their lives, allow them to find Jesus Christ, and then learn how to live without drugs in a successful way.
And what does the program look like?
The program's a 12-month program. It's an in-house residential program where they actually come and live with us for 12 months, 24 hours a day. We have a closed campus, which means they stay on campus, and for about 10 months out of the year, they have classes every day, and they go to church on Sunday and have a very structured life through the events of the day. And then in 10 months, we help them reintegrate back into society, learn how to live, learn how to make a living, and help them through their legal struggles and overcoming their issues that they've brought with them.
How many guys do you have here now, and how's their progress?
We have about 12 guys in the program here, and over at the Nest we have about 6 girls.
Great. All right.
My name is Joe McLaughlin. I'm from Charleston, West Virginia, and the state of the opioid epidemic is pretty bad. I mean, it doesn't discriminate. You can come from a poor residential area or a rich residential area. I mean, it doesn't discriminate against anybody. I mean, the problem is that the damage is already done, and the way that they're going about it, they should be trying to figure out how to clean it up. I mean, everybody was pumped full of prescription medication for years, 10 years plus, and now they wonder why there's a problem with it. And it's so easily to get on the street. People were going for, like, my buddies have told me they go for headaches, get prescription pills, and then they sell them to anybody with the highest dollar. Millions and millions of pills readily available, just.
So how does that work? I mean, like I said, I would have no idea how to even look for that kind of thing. Let's say that somebody, says, gosh, I got to get a pill. How did you do it? How did you get them?
It really wasn't hard. I mean, it's around every corner. There were pain clinics for a while. People were going to Florida to the pill mills by the carloads. You could get fake medical transcripts. The doctors were just writing them left and right, and they'd come back with 400, 500 pills each from one trip. Anywhere from pain pills to benzos, nerve pills, muscle relaxers, and from there it went on and on, which then brought on how people were doing them to where they were shooting them up, and there's an epidemic of needles. So from that stems disease,
So tell me about your own experience.
I went and got my wisdom teeth cut out, and had some pain pills left over. Went through a little trauma, like most people do, and it just it numbs you. It numbs you, and then you don't have to deal with the pressures of life. Instead of dealing with life itself, because life's hard. You don't have to deal with life, and then from there, there are no stories of somebody being hooked on any kind of drug and they're saying, well, I'm hooked on drugs, and I built a big house, I got a great job. It's always misery, destruction. You destroy everything. Everything you hold close is nothing compared to feeling better. That drug that you need. You put everything aside. You might not think it, but you're going to. And that's just the way it is.
So what was the end result for you?
I wanted to die. I just prayed to God one day to just take me out. I was done. I didn't have a place to live. I was sleeping on a little baby mattress. I didn't have no food for days, no way to clean myself, no money. Had to see my son. I lost everything. My family wouldn't talk to me. I was just a lost soul, kind of roaming around like a shell. And I prayed for God to just take me out. And the first time I talked to God in years, and Well, he did take me out. He brought me to a place where they could help me. To not just for the addiction. Anybody can quit doing drugs. There's usually a profound brokenness inside you that causes you to do them. Drugs are the solution to a problem that you have already. They attack the problem the way that I think it should be attacked, from the inside, and it helps. It helps me learn how to combat the addiction.
Tell me about your experience here at Bryan Safe House. How long have you been here?
I've been here 7 months. That's the smartest thing I ever did. The only right decision I've made in the past 12 years. They started working on my self-esteem to let me know that I wasn't just a failure, because after years of failing, that's, you develop a sense of a failure. They told me that God loves me. He made me for a reason, and they were relentless with that. And the other brothers here, they were welcoming, made me feel accepted. And as time went by, I was here, I started to believe that. And the more that I believed it, the more that I was understanding, and my perception started to change. And it showed me that there was hope, that I could be the man that I was meant to be, the godly man that I was supposed to be. And it developed, and more and more time went by. It was strengthened within me, and here I am.
Do you find yourself now with hopes and plans for the future?
Oh, completely 180.
What's your hope for the future?
I'll graduate this program. I have some tickets and stuff to get my license back. I got to get those paid off. My relationships that I have destroyed have been slowly restored, thanks to God. I plan on strengthening them and continuing to be a leader for my son and the people around me, and just continue to grow from there, and be more successful and more successful and more successful as time goes on.
Perfect.
Yeah, my name's Zach Amick. I'm from Beckley, West Virginia. I'm 30 years old. The opioid epidemic here in West Virginia I see is more people are using it to. A lot of it's doctor pushed. I feel like a lot of it gets pushed on to a lot of people. Then a lot of people also, can use it to cope with stuff, and really, once people start going down that road to coping with pain or anything, and they get addicted to opiates and stuff, they get more or less, it's like a trance, I guess. They don't really worry about anybody that's affecting around them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So whenever they, it really can drag people down, man. They lose focus on what's important in life. They lose focus on the people around them, kids, family, money. They're just more worried about what they can get, how they can feel. You know what I mean? So it's right now, man. It's doing a number on people, I feel like.
Tell me a little bit about your own situation.
Mine was just. I started, trying to fit in when I was younger, doing pain medicine and drinking all the time. And then as I got older, I started realizing that I was physically dependent on it. If I didn't have it, I'd be sick, wouldn't feel good, I'd go to doctors, get prescribed them, I'd buy them off the street, whatever. And with that, like I just said, I didn't care about who I was hurting. As long as I had what I had, it was all about me. I wasn't worried about other people. It was just what I could get to make sure I was happy. You know what I mean?
So what have you learned being here at Bryan Safe House?
Here I've learned one's patience, that not worrying about that self-gratification, learning how to emotionally or handle my emotions, take care of myself, putting God first, recovery second, and everything else third.
What do you think is the answer to fixing this problem in the United States with just overuse of prescription meds?
Honestly, I don't think really there should be any pain medicine prescribed. I mean, because I've had surgeries, I've had pain. I mean, unless you have cancer, I feel like, I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like unless you have cancer or you're bedridden, they shouldn't prescribe them. I mean, West Virginia, Kentucky, like these areas around here, you can get them for having a headache. They'll prescribe them to you. So I feel like they need to just really stop prescribing or pushing to prescribe as much, making that an answer, give more alternative solutions to the problem instead of just You know, a lot of them, doctors make money if their patients keep coming back, I feel like.
Yeah, right. Do you think that there's a lot? I mean, you saw firsthand. You know, how did you get drugs, and how did that become so easy for you?
Me, it started when I was younger. I looked for, I guess, whenever I was younger, I started doing them. It was just older people around me would influence me to do them. And I had hernia surgery when I was in my early 20s. And then doctors started giving them to me. And I was already had a drug problem anyways with them from experimenting. And I enjoyed how they made me feel. So whenever I found out, I could just tell a doctor after a surgery they weren't working, they'd keep giving them to me. Until, you know, eventually they gave me strong enough ones, and then it just keeps escalating. You never have enough. So that's a hard one, because I started, you know, young doing them, just around people trying to fit in.
And you said you came from a real functional family.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I had a good family, like you said, middle class. My dad was a welder. My mom worked as a nurse too. And then, but after my dad passed away, I didn't have anybody to tell me what I was doing was wrong. I could hide stuff easily, you know what I mean? My mom was doing anything she could to make sure I was still happy, so I was enabled a lot as a kid. I was given everything I wanted.
So how do you think you'll talk to your own son about drugs and stuff when he gets to be that age?
My gosh, hopefully, you know, I'll have the knowledge to explain to him, like, or the knowledge to notice that he's doing it or something, and be able to tell him, you know, like, this right here is going to get you nothing. You're going to feel like you're getting something, but it's going to be taking everything away simultaneously. It will lead you, I mean, we're all in rehab, so I mean, it leaves you dead in prison or in rehab, and leaves you with broken relationships. It really takes everything. So I'll try to explain that into him and drive that into him, that if you want something in life, you got to follow God. You got to have responsibility for yourself, your actions, and doing drugs and drinking and partying and acting like that's just foolish, and it's going to get you nowhere.
Good.
All right, folks, that's all we've got for the podcast today. Thanks for being a part of it. I hope you'll keep watching. We've got lots more good stuff coming up. Next week, a very special guest. It's going to be a surprise, but you won't want to miss it. I guarantee you that. So I'm Chuck Holton, and you've been watching The Hot Zone.
The Hot Zone is produced by Amy Holton and Livefire Media. Copyright 2019.